Jack here. Welcome to a brand new series here on my channel, The Revival, with Gamba Osaka, which everyone's going to be like, what? I'll explain a little bit more about this club and what this club's history is in a second. But first things first, thank you for your amazing response on yesterday's video. I asked for series suggestions and ideas. I got a variety of responses and I kind of realised I'm not going to be able to please everyone no matter what the series was that I was going to do prior to FM14. This is the series I've chosen. It's The Revival, and we are with Gamba Osaka in the Japanese division, second division. So a little bit of history about this club. This club is one of the giants of Japanese football. In 2005 they won the J-League. They've qualified for the Asian Champions League for a number of years in their history. They've always been in the top flight of Japanese football until this year. They've won the Emperor's Cup twice, which is the equivalent of the FA Cup in Japan. They've also won the J-League Cup before. And as I've mentioned, they've won the Asian Champions League, which was in 2008, so this is not a long history at all in terms of success. However, in 2011, the club finished third in the league. And just last season, in 2012, the club finished 17th out of 18 teams going down. Now, unfortunately for me, the database doesn't have the history all done for Japan that I'm using. However, I will link the Wikipedia article in the kind of description because it's definitely worth checking out. This is something that I really like to kind of do, especially when I play FM. I like to pick clubs that have a bit of history, have a story behind them, and I think Gamba Osaka here certainly have that. A club that have been on the kind of brink of success. You know, they've been the champions of Japan in recent history, the champions of Asia even more recently. However, last season, as I said, they went down, finishing 17th. They actually scored more goals than any other team last season, but they conceded the second most amount of goals in the league, which was their downfall, which is a pretty bizarre statistic. However, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do here in terms of where they're going to finish. I believe at the moment they're doing very well in the Japanese second division in real life, so it's going to be interesting to see if we can emulate that. Now, I've done all the team meetings. I've not looked at the squad or anything yet. We're going to be covering the pre-season in today's episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys make of this series, but one thing I really highly recommend you do is look at clubs' histories when you go to new teams. I love to go to clubs that have a little bit of a story behind them, and I feel as if this Gamba Osaka team is certainly going to have that. I don't think it's going to be the most challenging save, but bearing in mind that Football Manager is probably only a month away until FM 2014, I don't want a too longer term series, and I think this is going to be a pretty exciting and pretty interesting one just to kind of use in the build up to it. So anyway, let's have a look at our squad here. Literally not clicked on anyone. I guess a place to start is our most valuable player, which is Takashi Usami, who is a 19-year-old left winger, and this guy looks pretty solid actually. Wow, okay, we have a decent player in our ranks here at 19. He's playing it close to his full potential, but he's good. Paulinho here is actually tipped to be a better player. This is a Brazilian player. I should probably check the league rules actually. Pro tip, if you go abroad, especially if it's a really random country, first thing you want to do is check the rules, because the amount of times I've been caught out by these like foreign rules, it can catch you out for sure. So looking at it here, the match squad must have no more than 4 foreign players and must have no more than 3 foreign players, not including Asian players. You use 7 subs. Pretty small prize money. Better check on the finances in a second. No trialists can play. Seems like pretty standard rules. Top 2 teams go up and 3rd to 6th go into a playoff. Realistically, I want to be winning the league this year if we can. It's going to be important that we bounce back. Obviously, given the fact that I've kind of checked the team's stats and seen how they went down last year, and I know they conceded the second most amount of goals in the league, that's definitely got to be the area I probably look to improve. But anyway, let's have a little bit more of a look at our squad. Let's go on the squad depth. That's usually a better place to start when it comes to evaluating your players, but I like to check players by value as well. So, our best goalkeeper here is Yosuke Fujigaya. We'll get these names eventually, I swear. Okay, so value of 1 million, 4.4k a week. Looks like a pretty solid keeper. Nothing kind of mind-boggling, but looks like he's going to be a useful player for us. We have a sweeper, but I'm probably not going to be using a sweeper, so we'll just kind of skip over that. Best centre-back here is Yasuki Kono. This guy, £2.4 million, pretty hefty wage. Japanese international, very experienced. Looking at his stats, some really nice stats here as well. Determination and work rate is good to see. Decent stamina and a really solid player. I'm pleasantly surprised at some of these players. However, big thing to take note on here is the fact that our wage budget per week is £63,000 and we're currently spending in the region of £80,000 on wages. So I am going to have to kind of sell some players this year for the sake of the finances, which we will also just check quickly while it's fresh in my mind. So 6.4 million in the bank, but we're set to make a big loss this year. So that is definitely something I've got to look to do is, get rid of any players who are overpaid or overvalued, but try and keep the core of the team the same. Anyway, second best centre back here is Kaizuki Iwashita. What a name. I was shitter. We'll just call him I was shitter. What a name. Or I was hitter. I don't know. Anyway, these pronunciations are going to be fun, I can tell. This guy, 3.8k a week on wages. Solid centre-back. Looking at his stats again, really solid physicals, which is going to be good for us. And his technical attributes aren't too bad. I've kind of got to a stage now on FM where I can kind of just... My eyes are drawn to the key attributes for every role, but the highlighted ones here you can see. So it's not easy to see the blue when it's highlighted, but he's a very solid centre-back nevertheless. In terms of our right-back, Kono is our best right-back. However, our best right-back that isn't Kono is Akira Kaji. This guy, right-back, 32 years old, so a little bit old, but his wages aren't too extreme. So he looks like he's going to be a player who we need to maybe replace this year. 64 international caps, though, for Japan is pretty darn impressive and something I will probably use him for. Looks like he's got a lot of experience. His physical stats are on the decline, however. He looks like he's got fairly good stamina and natural fitness, and they're the main stats that kind of prevent physical stat degradation. Just a little tip for you there. Professionality, which is a hidden attribute, and natural fitness are the two factors that kind of impact a player's physical regression as they get old. So, little tip there. So looking at that, he could be a pretty useful player. I don't think he's going to physically decline too much. At left back here, we have Hiroki Fujiharu. This guy, 23 years old. Holy crap. Okay, this guy's looking good. Decent low wage as well, which is what I like to see. This guy looks like he's going to be a very good wing back, and I'm liking the look of these wing backs here. There's a few, obviously the right back isn't great, but this left back is looking like he could be a very useful player. Great pace. Strength maybe lets him down a little bit defending, but that 17 work rate is really solid, so he's looking fairly solid for us. Centre defensive mid, it looks like this Endo guy is going to be good for us. Looking at him, 32 years old, 4.5 star ability. It looks like this guy is kind of the best player in the squad. Looking at his stats, really solid, impressive stuff. 20 natural fitness is great for a 32-year-old, as I mentioned. That should prevent his stats from kind of dropping too much, especially in the physical area. But this guy looks like he's really solid, so looks like he could be a good one, although his wages are very hefty. So maybe something to look to get rid of there, especially considering the fact that our wage budget total is £60,000. This guy's taking up a quarter of it, so may have to look to offload him if possible. Kono, the centre-back, again features as a centre defensive midfielder. We also have Myojin here, this guy, 34 years old. So the vibe I'm getting here is a fairly old squad that's ageing, and so we're going to have to bring in some fresh legs, but there's certainly some real players with kind of potential here. We have Takahiro Futagawa, centre mid, looks fairly solid. 31 though, wages are a little bit hefty, so again a player who I might try and move on. I think this year we're going to have the quality to survive and definitely go up in this league. But what's going to be interesting is to kind of fix the financial side of things and trying to offload the dead weight. Anyway, Paulinho here, player who we already identified as a real solid player for us. Low wages, but really decent stats in all areas. A decent centre attacking midfielder, so like the look of him very much. Other key players here, looks like it's pretty much the same players again. Usami here is the 19-year-old talent. So all in all, it looks like we do have a fairly solid squad. The pattern that I'm certainly seeing is the fact that it's an old squad that we need to kind of get the age worked out on. If I show you these players sorted by ability, you can see the ages down here, and there's certainly a trend of some older players here. A few players who I've not evaluated. I'm just trying to see. AD Rocker here, Brazilian. He has a face in the face pack, which is always a positive sign, but this guy looks solid. But again, wages pretty hefty for what he is. It's going to be an interesting one this year to see how we shape up. Looking at the squad, I'm going to kind of draft up an initial squad here right now with you guys. However, it's probably going to change quite kind of significantly given the fact that we have to cut the wage budget a lot. So I'm currently thinking that we will probably line up in a fairly attacking manner. I mean, last year the team scored the most goals in the league, so that tells you a lot about their kind of general ability. But we're going to try and build a solid team here. I think Endo is going to be a good player for us. But we have plenty of kind of advanced playmaker players, and it's going to be a case of trying to get the most out of them. So, I mean, looking here, Paulinho and Osami, who's the very talented young lad, these guys both play on the left-hand side. I'm probably going to be sticking with a 4-4-2 this first season. Paulinho can play up front, so that's somewhere where he may play for us. Here, really, I'm just trying to draft out a brief squad. You guys have seen, if you've seen my squad selection guide video, how I go about just kind of building a squad up to begin with. It's a team that can be kind of changed on the fly and changed as it's needed to kind of be done. But at the moment, I'm just trying to draft out a brief starting 11 that I think is going to work for us. So I'm leaning towards maybe a 3-5-2, but we lack a centre mid, although we do have some solid wing backs, and these star ratings aren't entirely accurate. I'm going to be switching up the staff as well because it is the first day still, and seeing what we can fix here and who we can bring in. But anyway, guys, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go forward. I think you guys have had a bit of an introduction to the squad. Endo is probably going to be the player who I look to sell just because his wages are very extreme. There's a few other players who I definitely want to keep. Usami is a player who I think I could build a squad around. So, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what we can do. But I'm going to skip forward through the pre-season, show you my transfer dealings, how we're shaping up. But I'm kind of optimistic with this. We're in the Champions League as well because of the success in the Cups. Last season, the season that they went down. It's going to be a fun challenge this though. So anyway guys, I'll join you at the end of pre-season once I've got my transfer dealings done, once I know how the team's going to shape up. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys in a second. Okay guys, so we're back and it's the end of pre-season. Plenty of transfer dealings to do, but quickly, just show you the fixtures. So we had a tough little kind of pre-season. We also played a Champions League game in the meantime, which went okay. It could have gone better, it could have gone worse. We lost 2-0 against Pahang Steelers, who are a South Korean team. They're a very good side. It wasn't too bad of a result. We had a player sent off, which definitely affected us. They were certainly the better team. I played around with a formation for this one, which I regret doing because it just didn't work. But it's one of those things where I tried a different formation, as you can see here. It didn't work for me. Back to the drawing board, and I've mixed things up. So anyway, let's have a look at the tactic system first. This is the system I think I'm going to be using. I'm kind of leaning towards hopefully being able to change to a bit more of a 4-3-3. But at the moment, we're going to go with this fairly solid attacking formation. I really want to utilise the wings, especially Usami, Paulinho, and then Karakar at the moment, although I'd like to get another winger in if possible. But certainly Usami and Paulinho are going to be big players for us this year. And also Rocker, again, a good player who hopefully we can make the most of. But anyway, let's have a look at the transfer dealings to begin with. So, a few outs, few ins. I want to get some more done, but you know, these deals are pretty happy and pretty good deals, I think. So anyway, first player out was Endo. This guy was the 32-year-old centre mid on 14k a week. He's gone to Montpellier. He's now on 30 grand a week for them, but I managed to get 3.5 million for him, which for a 32-year-old centre mid I thought was a pretty impressive little deal. Another player who's gone out on loan is Katsuhisa. This guy is a really talented centre-back. Got some ability if he can improve his more technical kind of stats. People are tipping him for real improvement, so he's gone out on loan this year. He's going to be playing in the league below us, the JFL. So hopefully that first team experience is going to do him well. And the other player to go out was Katahiro, who's gone out to Al Ain, who are in the UAE. But this guy, he's an okay player. Again, another older midfielder. So I was quite happy to get him out, and to get 1.3 million for him I thought was a pretty decent deal. So on the ins, as I said, I want to get some more players in, but I think I've done some quite good deals here. It was tough attracting players to the squad. I believe that my kind of team as a whole is good enough for this league, so it was just a case of maybe adding 1 or 2 players and adding a little bit more depth. But anyway, first deal in was Kiyotaka Mayoshi, who is a centre-back. This guy's a little bit of cover. He's not too bad of a centre-back. He's coming on a free. Yeah, pretty standard backup deal. The next deal, £1 million for this guy Johnny from Shenzhen in China. Bit of a punt this one, but this guy's a quality centre-back. I mean, looking at his stats, you can see here, I brought him in for £1 million, which for this kind of centre-back I think is a great little deal. Looking at kind of where he's played it for Vasco and Corinthians. It's not the big Corinthians, I should add, but this guy certainly made a lot of appearances at various clubs, and he's definitely kind of played at a high level, and his stats certainly reflect that he is going to be a good player for us. I identified earlier, obviously, that I needed to improve the centre-backs. This guy, 26, he's probably got a good 5 years of first-team football ahead of him, and that's kind of what I like to do when I go to a club, is I like to kind of make a 5-year plan. But I'll come on to that in a second. So here we have Tando Valafi. This guy, Australian under-21 goalkeeper, signed him from Melbourne Victory for 190k, which I thought was a great little signing. This guy will be starting in goal for us. 24 years old, got some room for improvement, but really good stats all round. Fairly balanced, but his determination stands out to me as a good little stat. And he's a fairly well rounded off kind of technical goalkeeper who came in fairly cheap, so that was a good signing. And then 2 more signings just to tell you about. We have here Kawamura. This guy is a 32-year-old centre mid. He's nothing special, but he offers a little bit of coverage in the defensive midfield area and came in for 2.5k. And we also have Kendro Takada, who's another central midfielder. Again, just a little bit of coverage. It was an area the squad was certainly lacking, and I've managed to bring him in. So, looking at the transfer state, we still have a little bit of money left to spend, and I managed to kind of redish the wage budget around a little bit, so free up some of that. A few players who are on the ins, or one player I should say is on the in, is Seong Myung-won. This guy is a 16-year-old centre forward. He actually played for Portsmouth at a youth level before moving back to South Korea. But this guy's a really talented 16-year-old keeper, coming in for 5k on a compensation fee deal, but a very talented player. Looking forward to seeing how this guy develops, because he's got some great attacking stats for such a young age. So certainly one to look at in the future and keep an eye on. But those are the transfer dealings. Looking at the finances, because we made so much money selling players, we now have a balance of £10 million. Obviously, as I mentioned, there's a few more players I'd like to bring in, so it'll be interesting to see what we can do on that front. But all in all, the club's finances are looking fairly stable. We're set to lose £5 million this year, which you'd kind of expect. Obviously, the club has just been relegated, so it's kind of this transitional period whereby if we get promoted this year back to the J-League, our finances will be a lot better because of all the TV dealings and stuff that go on in Japan. So that's something to hopefully kind of look forward to if we can get promotion back. Looking at the squad as a whole, really happy with it. I think Johnny, the centre-back, is going to be a great signing for us. I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays. Still not 100% happy on this system, but as I was mentioning earlier, I like to kind of work on 5-year plans. So when I started this save, I went on Twitter and I tweet about my progress in saves, actually. A little cheeky plug there. If you want to know more about this kind of stuff, if you follow me on Twitter, I was asking people last night on Twitter about this save, if they like the idea of it. The general idea was, yeah, this will be cool. I know a lot of people are actually asking for the MLS. It's something that I might do for FM 2014, because I know there's a lot of improvements to the MLS, and I'll be interested to see how those kind of stack up. But anyway, looking at the team as a whole, happy with the squad. I feel as if the 5-year plan really here is to build a squad that in 5 years can win the league. we have some really talented players. Looking at the starting 11 now, one of my big worries was the kind of old age of some of our players. I've now got a starting 11 where the oldest player is 29. Which is in fact Paulinho and Kono. Both these players offer a good bit of experience in the side, but the big plan here now is really just to get a fairly young side working together and hopefully progressing this season, and then establish ourselves in the next 2 or 3 seasons back in the J League. And then hopefully push for the title. But it's going to be interesting to see how things shape up. I'm not going to do a live com today because this episode's already been pretty long. But next episode we'll do a roundup of all the fixtures for the kind of first month or so of the season. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you like the idea of this save, let me know down in the comments. I like to hear your guys' opinions on saves and stuff I do. I think this is going to be a fun one. Obviously it's going to be fairly short term because FM14 is only a few months away now. But I think this save certainly has some progress. Osami is certainly going to be one to look out for. But I am excited just to kind of see what we can do with this side. So anyway guys, that does wrap things up for today. Thank you for watching, as I've already said. And it is me, Jack. And I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.